go. So a very big welcome on behalf of Wild Earth Travel. For those who joined earlier, I quickly introduced myself as Sarah Porter. I've been working for Wild Earth Travel for over, oh crikey, I think it's about 8.5 years now, which is exciting. And I'm joining you this morning from Auckland, and our team are based down in Christchurch, where Aaron is this morning, as well as the help of Nissa, who's our marketing whiz down there. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Wild Earth Travel, we've been around a fair while now. The company's grown organically. We've grown as an expedition company, specialising in all those wonderful places that I guess you'd say are off the beaten track. We specialise a lot in small ship travel, and we sort of deal with about 70 operators around the world, about 250 vessels. We're not going to go through them all this morning, though, don't you worry. But it very much means that we have the experience, the expertise and the knowledge. What we bring you, what is best for each destination. We sort of match the right style of travel for each destination. So we've been around for a long time, and a lot of the destinations we deal with, you're gonna experience these cultural experiences. It's the history of wildlife. It's wherever you're heading with Wild Earth Travel, it's a very organic way of learning, and it's very much about getting the best and the most out of that destination. So Aaron Russ is the owner and manager of Wild Earth Travel. It feels very strange introducing you, Aaron. I talk about you and you're off in all these wonderful places. He is an absolute legend when it comes to expedition leading. He's been doing it the vast majority of his life and has grown up in the expedition and small ship realm as well. So I think there's probably quite a few of your favourite places around the world. I know the polar regions are close to your heart, but closer to home, we've got the Chatham Islands. So I'm going to pass over to Aaron. Last week, he was in Morocco. Next week, he's Indonesia. So we're very fortunate he's here with us this morning, and he's going to share more about the Chathams. Thank you, Aaron.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much, Sarah, for the introduction. I'm looking forward to sharing the Chatham Islands with you today. It's an area that's very close to the heart for myself and the team here at Wild Earth. An area that and some beautiful islands that we have come to know well over many years of expedition travel. It's a little bit different for Wild Earth in that it's not a ship-based destination, but it very much is in keeping with the ethos of Wild Earth and the way in which we see and explore the world. So the plan today is to share some of what you can expect to see and experience in the Chathams, and some of the reasons why you might want to find your way out to New Zealand's easternmost islands. The Chathams lie to the east of the South Island. They're incredibly wildlife-rich islands, home to a number of species of albatross, many endemic species of birds and plants as well, and they have inhabitants, the Chatham Islanders, which are a unique group of people that are, like the wildlife and the plants, shaped by the landscape and the climate of the Chatham Islands. The Chathams is amongst, if not the first place in the world to see the sunrise each day. Pitt Island and just slightly further east than the main Chatham Islands, and each day the day begins for the world as the sun rises over the Chatham Islands. The Chathams are also 45 minutes ahead of New Zealand standard or mainland time, so they do have an earlier time zone again than ourselves here in the rest of New Zealand. It's a landscape that's it's an ancient landscape. It's a landscape that's been shaped by the forces of nature. It lies in the Roaring Forties, so it's not uncommon for there to be a little bit of a breeze blowing through. It's all part of the story of the Chathams that shapes those unique landforms, wildlife, and plants that call the islands home. So lying surrounded by the Southern Ocean, the Chathams, as you can see here from a view from space, present a unique set of landscapes and landforms. The main Chatham Islands is relatively low and flat across its northern reaches, with those large lagoons that you can see interspersing the main island. Geologically, it's a combination of uplifted marine sediments with younger volcanics that intersperse through those marine sediments. And then out offshore from the main Chatham Islands, you have the largest of the offshore islands, which is Pitt Island, lying to the south and east of the main Chathams, and a number of smaller islands. And these small islands in particular are the great refuges of the endemic wildlife of the Chathams. Islands like Southeast, Mungary and Little Mungary, the 44s, the Sisters, some really iconic islands in terms of seabirds and wildlife around the coast of New Zealand. And so it's a landscape where the sea is an integral part of the story. The Chatham Islanders are very involved in the marine environment. Fishing is a key industry for the Chatham Islands, both with crayfish, paua, and cod in particular, amongst others being prime species that are caught in abundance around the Chathams. During the course of our programs in the Chathams, you spend a week exploring the Chatham Islands, and depending on the program that you join, you experience a wide range of landscapes around the main Chatham Islands, as well as on our January wildlife focused expedition with Mike Bell. You also head out and have an opportunity to explore around some of those offshore islands, which are really such a key part of the wildlife story of the Chatham Islands. So for a relatively small group of islands, you have a really great diversity of landscapes and landforms, from the high cliffs on the southern end of the main Chatham Islands. These are big uplifted or big volcanic terraces that rise to significant elevations in the south of the main Chatham Islands, and then you have the indented coastline that as the sea has eroded away those volcanics. Offshore, some of these smaller islands, such as the Pyramid and Mungary and Little Mungary, are great examples of volcanic activity. These are the eroded remains of some of those younger volcanics that surround the Chathams, and the volcanic plugs that have resisted the erosion of the surrounding oceans. And they make for some really dramatic seascapes and landscapes as you explore around these offshore islands and volcanic landscapes. Ranging here on Pitt Island across the rolling hills of Pitt, through to the main island of the Chathams, where you can see the lagoons which intersperse the landscape, and it becomes progressively flatter through the mid part of the Chathams. Here we're looking north from just adjacent to Waitangi, and you can see some really nice examples of those volcanic intrusions that have come up through the underlying sedimentary rocks as well. So geologically, a fascinating landscape. On the northern coasts of the Chathams, you have these spectacular white sand beaches, which are sweeping great reaches of coastline. And some really nice examples of some of these volcanic activity. Here, the classic columnar basalt, again on the north coast of the Chathams, but some really nice examples of the volcanic activity, which has also shaped the landscape. And some pillow lavas here, where the volcanics have actually been intruded beneath the sea surface at the time of the eruptions. So it's I guess the point is it's a very diverse landscape, and there's a great range of opportunities and experiences to really see and appreciate those landscapes. Those central lagoons of the island, of the main Chatham Islands, along the shores of them, you have these uplifted marine sediments, these limestones and the like. This is where you'll find some of the shark tooth fossils that the Chathams are so well known for as well. Each day, as we're exploring the Chathams, we head out with from our base in Waitangi and explore different areas of the island using a mixture of transport, and for some of the more remote or inaccessible areas, four-wheel drive vehicles are required. We're always travelling in smaller groups, which allows us to be flexible and really maximise our opportunities to explore. We take our packed lunches with us each day so that we're able to spend the full day out and around the islands. The distances aren't large, but there's a lot to see, and the roads, particularly when we go into some of the more inaccessible and more remote areas, the travel is not fast. Now, I mentioned the peoples of the Chathams, and the Chathams has a fascinating history. You may have heard of the Moriori people, the original inhabitants of the Chathams, Polynesian people that found their way to the Chathams many centuries ago and established a culture and a way of life on the Chathams, which was unique to the Chathams. There is still many descendants of the Moriori living today on the Chathams, and as we travel around the islands, you find the evidence of the culture that was thriving on the Chathams, the Moriori culture, including these cave carvings, and the really iconic tree engravings, which are still possible to see some examples of as we explore around the islands. Botanically, the Chathams is unique, as unique as it is with the animals and birds as well. Many species which are familiar to New Zealanders in particular have found their way to the Chathams and then evolved and developed to become unique to the Chathams. And you get a wide range of habitats, from the tree fern forests, effectively, of the south of the main Chatham Islands, through to some excellent examples of the regenerating forest that once clothed much of the islands. Many of these endemic species have close New Zealand relatives, such as here with this is Hebe chathamica, or Veronica, one of the many endemic species of the Chatham Islands. And through the summer months, as we spend our time visiting the Chathams, you'll find these plants in full bloom. Many have their seasons, of course, but through the summer months, you'll find some excellent examples of these plants in full flower. And also some more of the perhaps slightly unexpected, the ice plant, or Dysphyma. This is a real specialist in growing in and around seabird colonies. So some of the best examples you'll find of these ice plants are on some of these offshore islands where the seabirds are in abundance. But of course, you also find it around the mainland of the Chathams as well. Even the flax, the quintessential New Zealand Phorium tenax, has evolved to be a unique example from the Chatham Islands, and it's just a great and fascinating way to see so many of these familiar plants that have evolved and developed to the unique climate of the Chatham Islands. And then, of course, there's the species that are like no others, such as the Chatham Island forget-me-not, which is a coastal specialist, and in areas protected from the stock around the Chatham Islands, is in profusion as these great large glossy-leaved plants live around the coastline with their beautiful blue flowers. When you're able to, and as we do on our programs, venture away from the coast and get into some of those remnant areas of forest, you find a completely different world, which is in under the forest, protected from the prevailing winds. Just a completely different landscape to explore. And of course, there's also a nikau, which thrives in areas of the Chathams as well. I guess it's really the Chathams is about the diversity of experiences, and each day as you head out from Waitangi, you're going to discover new and different parts of the Chathams. The stories builds up over the time that we're there, as you see and experience different species, different landscapes. Here on the peat moors to the north of the island, we find some great examples of the Olaria in flower as well. Moving on to the birds of the Chathams, and it's a great draw card for many of the number of endemic species that have made their home on the Chatham Islands. The New Zealand pigeon is a close relative of the Chatham Island pigeon, which has become larger out on the Chathams. And when you're out in the right parts of the Chathams, and these aren't always the areas that everybody's able to visit, you'll find the pigeons out grazing on the meadows, where we're able to access some of these areas that you wouldn't normally be able to with our programs on the Chathams. They really are quite an iconic species. Through to some of the smaller passerines or songbirds, such as the Chatham Island warbler, again a close relative of the grey warbler from New Zealand, which has evolved to become a unique species in its own right. As has the tomtit, again, another of these Chatham Island endemics. The tomtit, of course, closely connected with the story of the black robin, one of the most iconic of the Chatham Island species. The population was reduced to just a grand total of 5 individual birds at one point, and through intensive management, the species has been saved and recovered. It still only occurs on the most protected of the offshore islands, but the Chatham Island tomtit was integral to that, fostering eggs and young chicks of the black robin, which they're closely related to. There's also introduced species which have thrived on the Chathams, and the weka is a great example of this. This is the buff weka from the South Island of New Zealand that was introduced to the Chathams. It's thrived. It's found across the main island, and it's because it's an introduced species, it's also eaten on occasions by the locals who have developed a taste for weka. Out on Southeast Island, for those of you who join our January program, we head out with Mike and explore particularly the bird side of the Chathams. You'll find species like the New Zealand shore plover, which is restricted to these coastal wave platforms on the protected islands. And a very endangered species, but quite widespread across the Chatham Islands. You have the Chatham Island oystercatcher, which will be found across these the great sweeping beaches of the main Chatham Islands. There's also 2 endemic species of cormorant or shag. Here we have the Chatham Island shag, and you also have the Pitt Island shag as well. So again, just these the opportunities, and one day you might head out to an area where you'll find the Chatham Island shags, another day to search for, amongst other things, the Pitt Island shags. With our program in January, we're very lucky to have our leaders, Mike Bell. Mike, as you can see here, in one of the conservation programs which he's been very involved in through the years in the Chathams. Mike comes from a family of conservationists and ornithologists. He spent a good part of his life living and working on the Chatham Islands. Has been integral to many of the conservation programs that have occurred on the Chathams. His father Brian before him was very involved in the Chathams as well, including working on the Black Robin program through the 1970s. Mike brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to our program, both on the ornithological side, where he has an incredibly deep knowledge. Botanically, he's a great resource, but just in terms of his connections through the Chathams, the people he knows, the stories that he's able to share during the course of that program, which we have in January. The other thing for our January program is we've included the opportunity to explore the outer islands, and this is done by boat, by special arrangement. We have a charter program during the course of our week on the Chathams, where we head out and visit, not landing because these islands are highly protected, but visiting and seeing places like Mungari and Little Mungari, Southeast Island, where those great concentrations of seabirds and many of the great conservation stories of the Chathams are centred. And speaking of some of the seabirds, the Chatham Islands is home to the vast majority of the world's population of northern royal albatross, which are breeding on those offshore islands around the Chathams. You also have the bullers, or northern Buller's albatross, which again is found breeding around the Chathams on those offshore small islands. And one of my personal favourites of amongst the albatross, the Chatham Island albatross, which is restricted entirely to just breeding on the pyramid, one small rocky outcrop to the southern extreme of the Chatham Islands. You of course also have the petrels, the prions, the storm petrels. Once you get out on the water around the Chathams, which we do on that January program, there's opportunities to see many of these species as well. We've touched on the Moriori story and history with the Chatham Islands, but continuing forward, the Chathams, European settlers arrived in the 1830s, whalers, sealers. They moved ashore and became farmers and settlers as well. So there's a history through time. You had Maori tribes coming from the North Island, which also settled on to the Chatham Islands through the 1840s. And so there's this layers to the story of the Chathams, which we explore as we travel around the islands, meeting the people, listening to their stories, their connections through time and place to the landscape of the Chathams. And it wouldn't be a visit to the Chathams without paying homage to the last of the full-blooded Moriori, Tommy Solomon, who's in Owinga, and again a part of the story of the Chatham Islands, a very unique story, which is unlike any other in terms of their connection and their interconnectedness through the people in the landscape. So how do we find our way to the Chatham Islands? We fly. So there is an airport, and there's one airline that flies to the Chathams. Included in all of our Chatham Island programs, we have flights. They're a daily time to coincide with the flights from Christchurch or Wellington that make their way out to the Chathams. We land and are met there by our local hosts and transport providers, and then we set forth to explore the Chatham Islands. Transport on the Chathams ranges from the four-wheel drive vehicles through to some of the smaller buses, which we're able to use, again depending on our day as we get out and explore around different parts of the Chatham Islands. Come prepared for a landscape of it's variable, it's changeable. The roads are in most cases very well formed, but gravel. We have frequent stops as we explore around the islands each day. And each day we return, or each evening we return back to our base in Waitangi, the main settlement on the Chatham Islands. We stay at the accommodation of the Chatham Islands Hotel. This is where our meals are as well. There's a range of different accommodation options, and the team at Wild Earth will talk you through those options, and these vary slightly between our departure dates as well. it wouldn't be a visit to the Chatham Islands without sampling some of the local produce as well. And we always make sure to feature this as part of our visits to the Chathams. So a great chance to enjoy the crayfish, which the Chatham Islands are renowned for, or of course the blue cod and some of the other seafood, which is such an important part of the story of the Chatham Islands, aside from all the other great stories that we all see and experience during your time with us out in the Chathams. So that's just a little sample of some of what you can see and experience. I've been fortunate enough to visit the Chathams on a number of occasions over the years. It's an incredibly special place. If you haven't been to the Chathams before, I'd highly encourage you to do so. It's another world. It's a place unlike anywhere else. If you've been to the Chathams before and you want to see and explore more of the Chathams, our program with Mike in January would be a great opportunity to go further and discover more and see more of the Chathams, see a side of the Chathams that you wouldn't normally be able to, which is what we've put together with that January program, and traveling with Mike really gives a great insight and opportunities that you wouldn't normally be able to have. Yeah, so I'll at that point I'll pass over to Sarah and let her introduce you just a little bit more detailed to the programs. I'll still be online, so if there's any questions, then at the end I'm happy to answer those as well.
Fantastic, thank you, Aaron. That's awesome. I think, crikey, that crayfish is going to get me there as much as everything else. It looked amazing. And the photos through that presentation, I'm guessing that if a lot of them are probably yours as well, aren't they, Aaron? A lot of
they
them
are indeed. Yep. No,
yeah.
Lucky to have discovered the Chathams.
Wonderful, fantastic. So as Aaron mentioned, we have a number of options for the Chatham Islands. He's referred to the January program a few times now. So that one's out of Christchurch for a week, sort of the 10th to the 17th of January. Next year. So that one there is the one that Aaron referred to, accompanied by the guide and ornithologist Mike Bell, who's certainly got the expertise, the experience, but also the connections, as Aaron mentioned. Another one that we have is the best of. This one is sold out for this year, which is fantastic. But again, we've got one leaving from Christchurch in February next year, and also one out of Wellington at the beginning of March next year. So there's also a special on at the moment where you can save $250 per person booking that one as well. So again, it's another 7-night program. All the sightseeing and entry fees are included, and you're going to get that insight to the Chatham Islands by the locals as well as the experts who are with you on the trip. And the accommodation, so there's a few different options there. We've got Hotel Chatham, Forget-Me-Not Suites, the motel over there, Traveller's Rest, and the beach houses as well. So we mix it up depending on the departures and things. So just check in with Wild Earth as to which accommodation is going to be used on the trip that you are heading off on. And does anyone have any questions? Feel free to turn your mic on or pop them in the chat, and we can answer them now. And if not, we can certainly get back to you. We'll leave all our contact details as well. I think it was so comprehensive, Aaron. You've answered everyone's questions before they even formulated them, to be honest. If you do think of anything, feel free to pop them in the chat. Amazing presentation. Thank you, Poppy. That's very timely. So if you want to book, please contact your travel agent, and also the contact details for Wild Earth are there. As I mentioned right at the beginning, we certainly have the experience, we have the expertise, and we have the knowledge that is going to help make your trip to the Chathams so memorable, and make sure you get